Welcome to the first in our series of films on moles. The mole is a fundamental concept in chemistry. If you do not understand it, you'll have problems understanding formulae, equations, calculations and titration. As you can see, it is a pretty big part of chemistry. Let's start from the beginning. The mole is a name for a very big number. In the English language, there's lots of names for numbers. For example, this is 2 aces, or a pair of aces. And this is a trio of chocolate bars. Eggs are sold in 12s or dozens, and 100 runs in cricket is called a century. Hold that thought while we take a look at Avogadro. He was an Italian scientist who worked out the relationship between the relative atomic mass of an atom in AMU and the same number of grams of the same element. Let's take a look at carbon. Carbon is the 6th element in the periodic table. It has 6 protons and 6 neutrons in its nucleus, which is surrounded by an inner shell with 2 electrons and an outer shell with 4 electrons. Protons and neutrons have the same atomic mass. We call this 1 AMU, or 1 atomic mass unit. Electrons have a mass of 1 over 1,840th of 1 AMU. Carbon has a relative atomic mass of 12 because it has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. We don't count the electrons. Despite the fact that atoms are too small to count or weigh, thanks to Avogadro we know exactly how many atoms are in 12 grams of carbon. And the answer is 6 times 10 to the 23rd. This applies to all elements. If you take the relative atomic mass of an element, get the same number of grams of that element, then you know you will always have the same number of atoms of the element. 6 times 10 to the 23rd. 6 times 10 to the 23rd is Avogadro's constant. This is a bit of a mouthful, so scientists decided to give this massive number a short name: mole. Therefore, if you have 12 grams of carbon, you know you have 1 mole of carbon. This is a lot easier to say than 6 times 10 to the 23 atoms of carbon. Earlier on we told you that this applies to any element. There are some exceptions, for example the diatomic gases such as oxygen and bromine. We will talk about these in a later video. Mole is the SI unit for measuring substance. It is simply the name for a number. You can have a dozen atoms or molecules. You could have a trio of ions, but this is not useful in chemistry. We prefer to talk about moles of atoms and molecules when we come to weighing out reactants for experiments. So let's summarise. If you take the atomic mass of an element and take the same number of grams of that element, you will have 6 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of that element, or 1 mole. If you have a molecule and work out its molecular mass by using the formula for that molecule, and then you take the same number of grams, you will have 1 mole of that molecule, or 6 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. You see, mole is just a nickname for a very big number. Here's another way of remembering. The number of moles equals the mass of the substance in grams divided by the relative atomic mass of the atom or the relative molecular mass of the molecule. This is Science Rocks!